from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
It's the coldest day of the season so far, and some of us down below freezing tonight. We'll show you who coming up.
Also counting down to the big face-off, we're live as Mayor Mike Duggan and the challenger, State Senator Coleman Young II, prepare for their one and only televised debate right here on Local 4.
But we begin with critical progress in Oakland County as crews rush to fix a broken water main that's left nearly 400,000 people without drinkable water. Thanks for being with us. It was a second day off from school for thousands of students. Homeowners spent much of the day without water pressure, but it could soon be over.
That's thanks to this critical delivery of a replacement pipe. It had to come in from Illinois, and it's now been delivered to the site at 14 Mile and Drake. We take a live look from Sky 4 as crews work to get that pipe into place. They tell us they plan to work around the clock until it is. Rod Maloney has been at the site all day. I guess still plenty to be done, Rod.
Well, actually, Devin, they're getting very close to wrapping this up, and I'll tell you why. When you saw the picture of the white pipe there in the pit, which is right over here, the guy in a green jacket's one of the guys who helped put it in. Well, they have the last piece of pipe in and connected. So all they got to do now is start working on decontamination. Shortly before noontime, 24 repair crew members walked away from a meeting with the replacement pipe manufacturer's rep. Turns out the white-colored pipe delivered this morning from Illinois, two sections, one 20 feet, the other about 6, are not your average lines. What's more, high-pressure pipe needs special attention, requires special equipment like this O-ring, and a careful and deft hand to properly install. The work crews actually needed to lift the first length up about 1 inch in order to fit it into the old one. The second length was just 1 inch too long, so a tandem cutting crew needed to excise the excess. Once the piece is properly installed, they can pressurize the line, see if it's going to hold. Meantime, it's something to watch. Neighbor Dan Phillips came out to see the progress and came away impressed.
I think the diameter of the water main was 48 inches, so it's a very, very large main. So, yeah, definitely a major effort to fix it.
And of course, the construction site drew a lot of other onlookers, like schoolboys on their bonus day off and parents having to be home and watch them. Steve Smart was philosophical about the break and what it's meant for him and his family.
Unlike Flint, people are still suffering from, main issues with their water. So with here, it's a little inconvenient. If we're, down for a few days, we can get by.
Well, that's a very interesting sentiment, certainly well thought out, and it's one of those things where he wanted to see this thing getting taken care of. And so just down the street from me here, you have the guys taking care, and now you're looking live from the chopper. And again, that's that white pipe that's been connected to the two gray ones, and those are the ones that have been installed. And so the fix is in place. Now the thing that they've got to do is get the decontamination done. So it's looking like they've got some good work done here, but there's still a lot more to go. Back to you.
Which is good to hear then, Rod. So are they giving you an idea, though, of their schedule for wrapping this up?
Okay, so let's talk about that. They got to get some chlorine in here. They got to run chlorine through the pipe. Once they get the chlorine in, then they can start making sure that there's pressure in here, which I believe they've already done. And then comes the question of the water quality. EPA says every 24 hours they've got to do a test that comes back, and as long as those tests come back fine, then it's looking like Friday night everybody will be able to use their water again the way they were over the weekend.
Let's hope so. All right, Rod. Kim?
Many schools were closed today because of the water problems, and they could still be closed tomorrow. But some districts opted to open despite the water emergency, knowing it's an enormous burden to parents to scramble for childcare. As Nick Monticelli reports from Novi, those districts that chose to open had a lot of planning to do.
I don't have to tell you what you're going through if you don't have water or have to boil your water. Certainly is a pain, but imagine doing it with nearly 7,000 students, the bathrooms, the drinking fountains, taking care and prepping for lunch, even science projects that need water.
You will have other opportunities this week with the syringes.
The sixth graders at Novi's Meadows Elementary say Dave Cosman is one of the cool science teachers. Today, the kids were looking over the bugs they created homes for, which of course needs water, which would normally come from the tap.
Oh, wait, no. We can't use that. So I've got my jug water. I'll find a container I can pour the jug water in.
And jugs filled with water seems to be the answer for most things here. Superintendent Dr. Steve Matthews made the choice to open schools today, bringing back nearly 7,000 kids from the day off they had yesterday.
Yesterday was easy. We didn't have any water pressure in Novi, and so we couldn't flush toilets, we couldn't use the water, and so yesterday was a pretty easy decision.
But today there is running water, but it's not safe to drink without boiling it first. So drinking fountains are covered up. The bathrooms are open, but after washing their hands, students are encouraged to use hand sanitizer. The kitchen staff boiled water to prep lunch, and students were also asked to bring their own water to drink. Dr. Matthews admits it's a bit of a headache to worry about all this, but he'd rather take the kids in so parents don't have to worry about where they'll go all day.
I've had some enterprising high school students contact me and say we should be out of school today, but by and large students are adapting and learning is taking place, and it's a good school day.
In Novi, Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
Okay, Nick, and of course we'll be following any school closings that come in overnight because of the water emergency. We'll have a complete list on clickondetroit.com and have live updates on Local 4 News today beginning at 4:30 a.m.
You know, Ben warned us that this was coming. It didn't make it feel any better.
Temperatures into the 30s tonight, and some spots could even dip below freezing. Come on, Ben. Really?
I would gladly be wrong if I could tonight, but you know what? November is less than a week away, and it's just about time that we get here, and we are, despite the fact that there's some sunshine out there now. This has already been the coldest day of the season on the high side, where a lot of us have really been just in the 40s, although with this late sun, Ann Arbor's peaked into the 50s, and so is Monroe. The wind is lighter, so it's easier to deal with some of these chillier temperatures, but by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, we're going to see 34 officially, and that's going to be one of our warmer numbers. Numbers will start to warm up pretty quickly with all that sunshine, but we're going to break these down in your 4-zone forecast to find out who goes below 32 and whether or not we're going to see frost by the time we wake up in the morning. Guys?
All right, Ben. The Oakland County mother charged with allegedly subjecting her daughter to genital cutting is requesting to have her GPS tether removed because the mother says the tether irritates her skin and leads to uncomfortable conversations with her children. Her lawyer states that the tether is unnecessary since daily routine occurs in a 20-mile radius of her home. She is part, of course, of the historic case. Prosecutors say that young girls were subjected to genital mutilation as a rite of passage. Her trial is set to begin in June of 2018. Earlier this morning, an accident between a car and a fuel tanker left the car underneath the semi.
Happened on westbound I-96 at Beach Daily. 2 people were trapped in the car, nearly crushed under that tanker there. The accident caused a major closure for about an hour and a half. No injuries were reported. One victim is hospitalized in serious condition tonight after a shooting on Detroit's North End. According to the victim's girlfriend, he was walking to the store when she heard 3 gunshots. The 33-year-old victim was shot 2 times. No word so far on any arrests.
Less than 3 hours from now, 8 o'clock tonight, Mayor Mike Duggan will square off against State Senator Coleman Young II right here on Local 4 with their only planned televised debate ahead of Election Day. Let's bring in Sean Lay. He's got a preview of what's coming up tonight. Sean?
Devin, we left the station. We went to the first small business we saw up here on Grand River. Here's the business, the Garden Bug. The 2 owners here say yes, they'll be watching tonight's debate with great interest. They'll be listening to some very specific issues, or listening for some very specific issues, I should say, important to them out here in the neighborhoods. To find out how much people care and why they care about tonight's mayoral debate, stop at any small business in Detroit. The Garden Bug on Grand River at Stahalin is a vibrant business working hard to make it as a garden center in the city, run by Tina Castleberry and Kim Haley. Both will be watching tonight's debate. Both have strong feelings about the next steps Detroit needs to take.
Tonight I'm going to be listening for what are they going to be doing to keep Grand River a viable corridor. There was some construction that was planned as far as parking and to rejuvenate Grand River. I know there's a lot been done downtown, in Midtown. There's a lot being done over in the Livernois area. We need a little shot of love over here.
Both women saying they'll be paying close attention tonight to what the challenger, State Senator Coleman Young Jr., will have to say. What new ideas will he put forward to help move Detroit's neighborhoods forward?
I want to focus in the neighborhood. It does not just Illinois. I want them to say, family, we are a family. We need to work on our neighborhoods.
Both ladies here that run the Garden Bug say, yeah, they'll be listening for ideas about development, especially here on the Grand River corridor, right for redevelopment. Devin, they also say the one issue they'll be listening for everyone citywide will be all about a solution to auto insurance. They want to hear from Mayor Duggan. They want to hear from Senator Young about that issue big time.
All right, Sean, and hopefully we'll deliver on all of that. You'll hopefully join us tonight, 8 p.m. right here on Local 4. Then I should also note, once the debate wraps up, head on over to clickondetroit.com. We'll have a special post-debate webcast. Big night tonight here in downtown Detroit. A decorated disabled veteran now forced to take on a new battle.
It's going to be devastating to our quality of life.
New tonight, why the country he fought to protect is now going after him for a massive sum of money.
Also, tanning salons not playing by the rules. New here at 5, shocking results showing just how often minors are getting in and not even being questioned about it. Coco?
The Woodhaven Warriors football team and cheerleaders worked hard all season, but will they get a chance to play in the postseason? We'll tell you what's happening tonight that will decide that.
New at 6.
With downtown thriving, the city eyes another Super Bowl. What Detroit is doing to attract more big events.
Also, is the next big step for home delivery, or is it an invasion of privacy? What Metro Detroiters are saying about allowing Amazon employees inside their homes while they're not even there.
Now to a Local 4 News update involving the Woodhaven Warriors. They're the Downriver youth football team that's been in the midst of a big controversy.
Yeah, after an incident at a game, team leaders considered pulling the plug on the program, then had a change of heart. But now it seems their season may still be cut short. We bring in Coco McAvoy with more on a critical meeting tonight. Coco.
Devin and Kimberly, the meeting tonight will decide if the Woodhaven Warrior football players and cheerleaders will be able to compete postseason. And parents say they're left in limbo and they don't think the kids should be punished. The Woodhaven Warriors, junior football teams, and the cheerleaders are having a great season. But now parents and assistant JV coach Sean Sage are left to wonder.
Are we just in or out?
That's after a war of words between parents from the Warriors and another team. The Downriver Junior Football League Board then decided the Warrior freshmen, JV, and varsity teams wouldn't get to go to playoffs, though both the freshman and varsity teams qualified.
These kids that I have, that I'm with, they didn't do it. And I just don't want it affecting them. I'm praying for these kids.
Sage says the vote tonight will also decide if the cheerleaders get to compete postseason.
These poor girls who have trained all season for a one-day competition, one day, they don't get to compete at all.
The uncertainty is difficult and emotional for Sage and other parents.
Because if you were in my shoes as a parent and as a coach, what would you do? You know, what would you do for your kids?
Now the league board of directors will make the tough decision to keep the Woodhaven Warriors in or out of postseason games.
And I know there's got to be rules and regulations, and I understand that. I wasn't involved, and I didn't write the rule book. I don't know. But here's what I know is these kids did nothing wrong.
And we reached out to the president of the Woodhaven Warriors today. We spoke to him over the phone, and he says, of course, he hopes the vote goes in their favor tonight. We've been reaching out to the league president since last week, and he has not responded to our calls. So we'll have to see what happens at the vote tonight here in Lincoln Park at 8 o'clock. Back to you.
Well, Coco, is there really much word on exactly what happened between the parents that caused all this?
So there are two very different accounts of what exactly happened, but what we do know is there was a heated exchange between parents on the Woodhaven Warriors football team and a different team after a varsity game, and the league board then decided to suspend two of the Warrior coaches, but also decided that the Woodhaven Warrior football team and cheerleaders wouldn't be able to compete postseason, but they're going to listen to the team's appeal tonight, and we'll have to see what they decide.
Yeah, we sure will. All right, Coco.
Well, Halloween is nearly a week away, and the city of Detroit is looking for candy donations in an effort to promote family-friendly activities on Halloween. Bags of individually wrapped candy can be dropped off at any police precinct. The city is also looking for volunteers to patrol Detroit neighborhoods and vacant structures for the nights leading up to Halloween. That's right around the corner.
Starting to watch that forecast. Yes.
Yes.
In the meantime, things have cooled off quite a bit.
Considerably. Yeah, we got into the 50s in some lucky locations, and that was a gift. Most of us in the 40s right now, 49 at Metro. That late sunshine's helping us out a little bit, but you compare the temperatures from yesterday at 5 p.m. to what we've got out there right now. In some cases, it's actually warmer, so you're probably wondering, why are we saying that this is the coldest air of the season? Well, remember yesterday, we actually set our high temperature earlier in the day, and we were on the downslope at 5 p.m., so that's why these numbers are very similar, and in some cases, actually a little bit warmer than what we were looking at yesterday. 4 Live radar doesn't have a whole lot of moisture out there. There's still a few light scattered showers, mainly south of 94. So as those exit tonight, we'll take the clouds with it and look for clearer skies. But we did see a decent amount of rain. In fact, across the area, less than an inch for the most part. But you get out here into the west zone, there were places that did pick up more than an inch of rain. Manchester, one of those spots at 1.4 inches. Howell, just over an inch of rain. Farmington Hills, about 9/10 there. 3/4 at the airport. And Dundee ended up with 7/10. So we do have some pretty wet ground, and that could play into whether or not we get frost tonight. As the clouds move out, the temperatures drop, and the winds subside. All of those ingredients usually mean, yeah, we're in for some frost. But because the ground is warm and there's a lot of moisture in the soil, I think a lot of spots are going to avoid the frost and just have to deal with a potentially chilly night and start to tomorrow morning. Thursday, we will see a lot of sunshine, but by Friday, the clouds come back. Temperatures do start inching back upward to close out the work week, but it is a very small reprieve, as you'll see in the 7-day forecast coming up. Here are the lows tonight. We're going down to 36 in the city. Officially, we'll be at 34 at the airport, but you start getting further outside of the metro zone, and that's where the freezing numbers come in. Mostly 32 there in Lenawee County, a little bit milder towards the lake, but we're looking at 31, 32 out here in our west zone. So a couple spots could be below freezing in Howell and Flint. And when you get into the north zone, yeah, it's going to be cool here. A couple spots may escape the sub-freezing numbers towards M59, but most of the zone here freezing or below by the time we get into tomorrow morning. Afternoon temperatures don't look bad. They'll be warmer today than we saw today at 53. Winds are going to stay light, so we don't have a wind chill problem tomorrow morning, thank goodness. A couple areas of rain to discuss, and especially that area on Monday. We could be seeing a few wet snowflakes. See that temperature at 34. I know.
Oh,
Tis the season, though. And by the way, you think we've got it bad. Coming up at 5:30, we're going to talk about what's been going on up north and in the UP. They've got a real reality check going on.
Stick around for that. All right. Evrod.
This is a copy of the Michigan Mega Millions jackpot winning ticket. I'm Evrod Kasumi. Coming up, I go one-on-one with the new multimillionaire who explains his strategy for winning half of the $42 million jackpot.
But first, a new twist in the Las Vegas massacre. What now has the shooter's brother under arrest? Next.
The decorations, the costumes, the candy. Halloween can be so much fun, but it also can be dangerous for your pets. What you need to watch out for to make sure this Halloween's a treat for your dog or cat. Tomorrow at 5.
The brother of the man responsible for the massacre in Las Vegas is behind bars.
Bruce Paddock, who you see here, arrested today in Los Angeles. He is suspected of possessing child pornography. Not considered a suspect in the Las Vegas shooting. Officials say the child porn case actually predates the massacre in Vegas.
2 people are missing tonight after apparently being swept into Lake Superior yesterday as high winds and waves hit the Upper Peninsula. Because the waters were too rough to launch a boat, the Coast Guard had to deploy a helicopter to search for the missing people. The Coast Guard looked for about 3 hours before being called in due to 40-mile-per-hour winds and 25-foot waves. The search has since picked back up today. In good health, most states restrict indoor tanning for minors, but many salons are not following the rules.
Yeah, it's interesting. Researchers called more than 400 facilities in 42 states, and they posed as a minor who wanted to tan. They found more than a third of the salons did not follow state laws, which the most common offense, allowing tanning without parental consent. Experts estimate banning indoor tanning for minors would prevent thousands of melanoma deaths. Now, the current law in Michigan requires minors to have parent or guardian permission or accompaniment. to the
New at 5:30.
1 in 3 families, 33,000 dead from overdosing on opioids. That's heroin and prescription pain pills. We know it's a crisis, and you can help fight it at home right now. I'll have the checklist to help protect you and your loved ones from this epidemic.
President Trump today speaking unexpectedly and candidly on a wide range of topics.
It is about the inevitability of taxes.
And I don't think the IRS is bad. I think they are doing their jobs.
A disabled Michigan veteran scrambling, trying to solve a problem when the IRS came a calling.
This disabled veteran is in the fight of his life, and it has nothing to do with an illness. His own country he fought to protect is now fighting him for a massive sum of money. William Milzarski is a highly decorated disabled Michigan Army veteran, but now he is forced to take on a whole new battle.
The IRS has left him with a financial burden that he struggles to carry. Our business editor Rob Maloney following this story, and he's here to explain what happened. Ron?
Yeah, Devin, you know, a lot of college students walk around with the crushing weight of college debt, the student loans that they've got to pay off down the road. Well, Will Milzarski was able to figure out how to get away from those college loans. But the IRS is still standing there with its handout.
A soldier's soldier, 46-year-old William Milzarski served 3 years as an engineer during the first Gulf War. Left the military, finished law school, became a top state of Michigan disability advocate, and it was then at age 39, with his sons looking to join the Army, he hit a crossroads.
I was arguing, should I buy a convertible or go back in the Army?
So he became an officer, a platoon leader, hunting the Taliban in Afghanistan on nearly 250 missions. 5 of his men died, and he nearly did too.
You know, small grenade launcher, and one of those went off right in front of me. And I remember falling back into a wall when it detonated. And everything from then on becomes very foggy.
He'd suffered a traumatic brain injury and quickly realized when he got home,
I needed to retire for medical issues. It's going to be devastating to our quality of life.
Now, Will has a Purple Heart. He also has a big heart because he is helping raise his 3 grandchildren, his daughter and the grandchildren living in the house. And what is so difficult about this is that IRS tax debt is going to run him at least $1,500 a month, which is about 1/3 of his income. And he says, boy, it's going to be very difficult trying to get that paid off, and it's going to take him years. Back to you.
Well, what's the IRS side of this then, Rod? What do they have to say?
Well, the IRS does not comment on such things. They certainly wouldn't talk about his individual case, but he is actually correct that it is income, and it is declared income. It was a 1099-C, they call it. And so the IRS is doing what it does, which is enforce the tax law. But here's the thing. This is catching fire in Washington, D.C. A number of representatives have heard about this case, and they're looking at ways to perhaps try and figure out, either with legislation or with some kind of help, to get him off the hook on this. But as it stands right now, he still owes $62,000 to the IRS.
It's a ton. All right, Rod. Karen?
Talk about too soon. Your eyes are not deceiving you. This is video today of snow about 20 miles south of the Sioux Locks and the UP. Oh.
Here we go.
I get chilly just watching it.
We're almost in November.
It is. We can't be wimpy.
Yeah, and that was not the only spot up north that saw snow. In fact, we actually got our snow depth map out for the season. First time we've used it. And yeah, there were spots up there, especially near Marquette, 1 to 3 inches on the ground. And just north of the Sioux, you can see right there on the shoreline of Lake Superior, 3 to 6 inches of snow on the ground up there. They also had some other stuff to deal with. 25 to 30 foot waves on Lake Superior, and they recorded gusts of hurricane strength, 77 miles per hour. So you think a couple sprinkles and 40-degree temperatures are bad. They're dealing with some stuff up there. This is the last of the rain. That's starting to dry out, and then we turn our attention to the temperatures tonight. Some of us go down below freezing, and we'll detail that in your 4-zone forecast coming up. Devin?
And today, President Trump taking on a number of topics, including criticism from 2 Republican senators. Blaine Alexander explains how he's defending his party. Blaine?
Well, Devin, President Trump was not actually scheduled to speak with reporters today, but while he was walking out from the White House to Marine One, he stopped and talked for nearly 15 minutes, and he covered a lot of ground. Before heading to Dallas for a fundraiser, President Trump first making a stop with reporters, taking questions on a wide range of topics.
It was almost a love fest. Maybe it was a love fest, but we get standing ovations. There is great unity.
The president denying his party is coming apart at the seams, a day after being sharply rebuked on the Senate floor by Senator Jeff Flake.
His poll numbers are terrible. He's done terribly for the great people of Arizona.
And addressing the controversy over his phone call to the widow of Sergeant LaDavid T. Johnson.
I was really nice to her. I respect her. I respect her family. I certainly respect LaDavid. Who I, by the way, called LaDavid right from the beginning.
He also revealed that he did not directly authorize the mission in Niger that ended Johnson's life. And on new reports, the Clinton campaign and the Democratic Party helped pay for a now infamous Russian dossier containing salacious allegations about then-candidate Trump.
It's a very sad commentary on politics in this country.
On Capitol Hill today, Senator Flake still on the attack. His Republican colleagues largely silent or coming to the president's defense.
The president has his own way of communicating, and look, it's worked.
When asked if that communication should be more civil,
I went to an Ivy League college. I was a nice student. I did very well. I'm a very intelligent person.
And saying the press makes him look more uncivil than he really is. And President Trump also talked about tax reform today, saying he doesn't believe that any disagreements with members of his party will spill over to affect actual votes. In Washington, Blaine Alexander, Local 4.
All right, Blaine, one other note out of Washington. President Trump recently tweeted that tomorrow the remaining files on the assassination of John F. Kennedy will be declassified.
Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl will have to wait to hear what his sentence will be for pleading guilty to desertion. That's because the judge hasn't decided whether it matters what President Trump has said about Bergdahl while on the campaign trail. Trump said, quote, 30 years ago, he would have been shot. The focus of today's hearing was on the troops who went on dangerous searches for Bergdahl when he went missing.
A shooter's on the loose after killing 2 men at Grambling State University last night.
Earl Andrews, a student at the university, and his friend, Montclairius Caldwell, were shot in a courtyard following an altercation that started in a nearby dorm room. When police arrived on the scene, the two from Farmersville, Louisiana, were already dead, and the shooter had fled. Authorities are still looking for the killer, who has yet to be identified.
Rock and roll icon Fats Domino has died, dying this morning from natural causes, widely successful throughout the 1950s. In fact, selling more records in that decade than everyone except Elvis Presley. His style then was widely imitated, influencing other artists, including Randy Newman, Paul McCartney, who wrote the Beatles song Lady Madonna, which mirrored Fats Domino's work. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 1986. Gave us Blueberry Hill and so many other great songs. Fats Domino was 89 years old.
The Waterford man and his wife won half of that $42 million from the Michigan lottery. The ticket was purchased at a 7-Eleven store in Waterford on none other than Friday the 13th. Everett Cassimy spoke to Michigan's newest multi-millionaire, and he explained how his family helped him win big.
I saw it on the news. I was excited that somebody from Waterford won, not thinking it was us.
54-year-old Kevin Blake and his wife Stephanie are still trying to take it all in. They won $21 million after winning half of the Mega Million Dollar jackpot.
So here's the check. It's just been
shocking.
Just very shocking. We're still absorbing it and taking it in, and we're still working and just trying to figure out.
Life goes on.
As life goes on.
They're still a bit stunned, if you couldn't tell. And while most people start dreaming about what they'd do if they won that much money and how they'd spend it, this Waterford couple has no idea just yet.
Still new.
We're put it someplace in our that's safe, and we're just going to figure out life. Yeah, we're still working.
Here at the Michigan Lottery Regional Office, Kevin explained to me his winning strategy. Here's a copy of his ticket. He always plays his family members' birthdays, his wife's, and their daughters. And now he's a multimillionaire.
And I just keep one ticket, and I just Run it through.
And while Friday the 13th is typically an unlucky day for the superstitious, it'll always be remembered as the day that changed their lives.
Life is not really changing, other than our retirement looks a little bit better, and maybe sooner.
We'll retire a little earlier.
Evrod Cassimy, Local 4.
By the way, the couple chose to get a one-time lump sum of about $13.1 million after taxes. They'll get about $9.3 million. Besides their 19-year-old daughter, they hadn't told anyone they won until today. I give them credit for that, because no matter what, it would be kind of hard.
Little tricky. It'd be killing you not to say something, would it? Albert Einstein created the theory of relativity, but it is another creation making headlines around the world tonight.
New at 5:30, what's in this note that just fetched $1 million at auction?
Also, a packed flight on final approach. They were seconds away from disaster. New at 5:30, what the pilot didn't do until it was far too late. Doc?
Well, I've treated countless overdoses, from pain pills all the way to heroin. Don't let someone you love become part of the epidemic. I'll have the checklist to protect your loved ones at home.
New at 6.
Big water problems all over Oakland County, and scammers now moving in. We'll show you how to protect yourself in my Help Me Hank report.
Amazon is testing a new idea. When they deliver a package to your house, if you want, they'll unlock the door and leave it inside.
Right now, undecided.
Too many unanswered.
Too many unanswered questions.
It's called Amazon Key. Is it convenient or creepy?
All right, Steve. 1 in 3 families is affected by the opioid crisis. That means there's a pretty good chance that someone you know, someone you love, could be facing the crisis.
Our Dr. Frank McGeorge is back with a checklist of what you can do to help yourself and also to help those you care about.
Definitely, Karen and Devin. You know, the first step is prevention, stopping the opioid addiction before it has a chance to start.
I come from a typical all-American family. My son became an opioid addict.
John Mattarella's son Anthony was addicted to prescription pain pills after an injury. Then came heroin.
About 75% of heroin, those who use heroin, did so after abusing prescription opioids to treat pain.
Anthony is clean, but his story is not unique. Many addicts begin with a prescription for pain pills. So first on our checklist, realize prescription painkillers are often opioids, and they are just as addictive as heroin.
When you go see a doctor for a sprained ankle or anything else, right, and they just offer you an opioid, just say, hey, wait a second, I'm not that bad. Doctor, do you think I really need this or not? So ask that question.
That's right. Ask, can I manage this pain with an NSAID or a nerve block? And if opiates are your best option, have a plan. Limit their use to the least amount necessary and stop them as soon as possible. Do this for yourself and your children. Anyone is vulnerable to opiate addiction.
Most acute pain is gone in under 3 months. So after the pain's gone, if you think you still need it, that's a problem, obviously. So you got to be honest with yourself.
Next on our list, get rid of any unused prescription pain medication.
Either turn it in or destroy it in a safe manner.
Operation Medicine Cabinet exists at police departments across Metro Detroit. Clean out your medicine supplies, kitchen cabinets, and drawers. You can turn in your old medication, no questions asked. Warning signs someone you love may be abusing drugs: mood swings from euphoria to depression, sedation, confusion, constricted pupils even in dark rooms, social withdrawal and isolation, extra pill bottles turning up in the trash, doctor shopping, multiple prescriptions, sudden financial problems. And know this, opiate withdrawal mimics flu-like symptoms: body aches, soreness, headaches, nausea, sweating, fatigue, and anxiety. If someone you care about seems really sick 1 minute, then miraculously improves only to get sick again in a few hours, that should raise a red flag. And now it so happens this Saturday is National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. That is the perfect opportunity to get rid of your unused, older, expired prescriptions. And to find the drop-off site that is closest to your home, go to our website, click on Detroit.com, and click on the Opioid Nation tab on the homepage.
Yeah, aside from the keeping them around your house, not a good idea. Flushing them down the toilet, we've come to understand is a bad idea too.
That's exactly it.
It was interesting what the doctor said, though, when he said the doctor may be giving you, you need to be your own advocate here, and just just because a doctor who hasn't maybe gotten the memo on all this yet is offering you pain medication, you got to stand up for your own future.
That's exactly it. You know, and everyone has a sense, I think, of their own tolerances. And so patients need to be aware. But really, I think the whole idea is you should not see pain as something that we need to completely eliminate. Pain is a natural part of the healing process sometimes, and you don't always need to get rid of it.
It's funny because some dentists over Macomb County, I did a story with them, and they said, you know, back in the day, we would write a prescription for the opioid. Now we say, you know what? You take some Tylenol, and guess what? You will be in pain.
It's going to be
and that is going to be uncomfortable, and you need to deal with that.
Yep.
Better than a long-term problem, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Right,
Thank you, Doc. Well, this is some fun news.
It is.
The parade company announcing the grand marshals of the 91st America's Thanksgiving Parade presented by Art Van.
And it is 2 outstanding Detroiters. Notice that gal on the left? Yeah, Detroit broadcast legend, former Local 4 anchor Carmen Harlan, and on the right, the one and only Grammy-nominated artist Big Sean. Both great Detroiters, and they've both been named this year's Grand Marshals. This year's theme is Woodward Avenue of Dreams, in celebration of really the transformation that we've watched on Woodward Avenue. Our parade coverage kicks off 6 a.m. Thanksgiving morning, leading us right up to parade time. That is going to be a great thrill.